Commissioner Dean, and good morning, Commissioners and Michael and team. I'm happy just to follow Dean's kind invitation to just give a quick update on where we are with broadband matters here in Waseca County. Perhaps I think it's appropriate to begin by saying the National Association of Counties awarded Waseca County last year in 2025 the 2005 Achievement Award for its program on broadband. So, I mean, it's a county program that we work closely with the state and with federal authorities. And it was nice to see that recognition at the national level for the work that you have done as county commissioners, as county administrator, and as a team of community members advancing broadband. So congratulations to everyone. That's a huge achievement. If you look back 3.5 years, Waseca County always got a red mark when it was reviewed for its coverage on broadband. And this past December, they do it on an annual basis. We moved from red to yellow. And I'm quite convinced that when all the construction is done this year in 2026, we'll move from red to yellow to green in Waseca County. So some achievements there, and applause to everybody for your good work. You may remember that up to date so far, we've secured about just short of $8 million for broadband development. The vast majority of that has come from state government monies. Some of that has also come from private industry, particularly BevCom, and then it has also been funded by the Waseca County by your decision making, with about $800,000 coming for broadband. I spoke yesterday with Bill Eccles of BevCom, and Bill is very much aware that we're eager in Waseca County to get everybody connected. I know some of your constituents have been in touch with you. Bill says that the fall was a little slower than they had expected. They had a bit of problem with some of the final connections, but that has been done now. And beginning March 1st, they will start now connecting homes to the internet. And they do that as BevCom. They do not contract that out. They use their own BevCom staff to start connecting those portals that you see outside the house or the business, and then connect them to internet inside the building. So that will begin the first week of March. They said that they usually do about 8 of those a day. So if you look at roughly 600 connections to be done, you can do the math, but they're looking at 8 connections a day to get that internet into the homes of Waseca County residents. I think that's about all that I could say on that, but I do want to alert you to one additional opportunity for Waseca County. If you look at our history in the last 3 years, we have done really well as a county under your leadership, under your decision-making to advance broadband using state monies. We have also been actively involved in the BEAD process. That's the federal program. And those decisions are still in process. They're being worked through, and you know, we'll see how that all comes out. But in the meantime, if we take the kind of adage of God helps those who help themselves, I would like to call your attention to the Minnesota Line Extension Program. If there was one thing that Waseca County residents could do to advance their own broadband to their own business or to their own homes, it would be to apply for the Minnesota Line Extension Program. This is a state program. It's gone through rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4. And today, or this month, the 5th round is open. So anybody who is looking out their front window and seeing that, gee, I'm just short of getting broadband because the connection doesn't come up to my home, you can go onto the internet, and if you can't, you can call that phone number and apply to get the line extension to your residence. And it is free to the homeowner or to the business owner. And the state of Minnesota will contact the internet service provider, and that internet service provider will connect the individual. Waseca County, we did not get any Minnesota line extension programs for round 2, 1, 2, and 3, but we succeeded in round 4. So we are getting some of our residents connected through this program. And it would be fantastic for anyone else in Waseca County who wishes, apply for this. And once you apply, there's not a deadline. You apply, your application's there, and every time they have a new round of funding, your application remains. So it's a great opportunity. It's not going to work for everybody, but if you don't play the game, you can't win. So you got to put your application in and then wait. Usually it's if you are selected working with the internet service provider, it's a 1-year timeline. So for awards that were given in December of 25, they must be done by the end of December 26. So if you apply now, there's a good chance you could get fiber to your home by the end of next year. Okay, so I've left this here. Thank you very much. You've got the contacts there. Again, you've got a phone number to call, but you also have an internet connection. And any of your constituents who may contact you and say, hey, I really feel bad. I'm just on the edge of it, but I'm not getting it. Tell them to apply. Tell them to apply. And I can tell you, I've helped more than 50 people do that. It takes about 5 minutes. It's really simple, but you got to do it in terms of you got to get your details onto the system. That's all. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, question.
How close would the fiber have to be for to realistically apply this for this?
Yeah, good question. The maximum amount that can be given, this is by state statute, the maximum amount that they can give for any one connection is $25,000. And usually that means a connection can be made within 2 to 3 miles of where the line currently is in order for it to be under the threshold of 25,000. Sometimes it's a little bit of luck because maybe there is a line that's coming through and it's only a quarter mile away or something like that. So it could be, I would say it could be as far as 3 miles, but it depends also on the geography. If they have to go under a railroad track or if they have to go under a river or a ditch, then that's going to increase costs by permitting and everything like that. But certainly if you're within 1 mile, I know that some of the folks that have been were approved for the 4th round, they were 1.5 miles away from the line and they got it. So it is possible to do that. And for Waseca, most of that has come up from the south. And now we're also seeing some opportunities coming in from the east. So you can see Woodville Township, some of the folks becoming eligible now for that connection. And then from the west, you can also see that coming in from Eagle Lake. So it's not only what's connected in Waseca County, it's what some of our surrounding neighbors are doing. LeSueur County, it could benefit from us too, a good benefit as well. We have had some success there, but I mean, we're in a good position that some of the other counties are also advancing. So that makes sometimes our connection closer than we think.
And if we can get neighbors to do this, you know, if you have some in proximity and all of a sudden there's not just one house 1.5 miles away, there's 3 houses along the way, that can make it more attractive for internet service providers as well. And that's why it's important that we get as many people as possible to put their name in for this, because then you get a fuller scope of who's got it, who doesn't, and who might be interested. Because it's all about density. It is all about density.
So essentially every few months, state of Minnesota releases the names of the people that applied to the ISPs. And then it's a reverse auction setup. So basically the ISP will see, oh, there's 50 people that have applied in this cluster. I'll submit a bid for this amount to hook up all 50 of those people. That's kind of the incentivization, as Steve was saying, that the more people that apply, the better chance that they will all receive a water service through this.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Dee. That's absolutely spot on. It's great to get people to apply and then talk to their neighbors and get them to apply. Because all at once, maybe in a mile and a half becomes not just one connection, but maybe 4 or 5 connections.
Any other questions for Steve? I just want to take a minute today to thank Steve for his service to the county. First as our broadband fellow, and then as our broadband consultant. Yes, and now as our retired consultant, soon to be grandpa. For his passion and his friendship and his enthusiasm to help us take advantage of every opportunity available for Waseca County residents to be able to be served and well served by broadband. Your work has been foundational to the good things that are happening here, and we just can't thank you enough for all you've done. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Sure.
Chair,
Yes.
I would imagine you'll send that to us.
Sure. That was my question. I was looking through the whole thing. I was like, where-
We have talked about this in the past, but yeah, I just thought it was important that this be in front of us at forefront here as we start going into digging season again. And that we be thinking about it. It is on our website. But this application is on our website, but we know there's lots of things on our website and so as we meet with townships on occasion and all those kind of things, it's really important that we just keep bringing this information to the top of the pile.
That fact sheet is in your inbox now.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
And, you know, Brad, I can remember when you and I went to one of your township meetings. And in fact, now all of the township leaders there are getting broadband.
Yeah,
And they took advantage of this program.
yeah, the last one was, yeah, just to the west, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Steve.
so
Thank you,
much.
Steve.
Thanks.
All right. I don't see any other members of the public here to comment. And I don't imagine we have anybody online knocking on the door. So we will move on to approval of agenda. Any updates to the agenda? Staff? No? Board members? Anything you see added or changed? Thank you. Commissioner Milbrook, Commissioner Krause,
No, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Christopherson,
No, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Hargit.
No, Madam Chair.
All right. Then I would look for a motion for approval of the agenda as presented. Thank you.
Second by Krause.
Motion by Commissioner Christopherson, second by Commissioner Krause. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Agenda. All right. Approval of county board minutes from January 6th and January 9th. I would look for a motion and second as a slate or comments about any corrections or changes.
I'll move it as a slate. Second, over.
Motion by Commissioner Hargit, second by Commissioner Milbrook. Any changes or corrections we need to make? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Then, consent agenda, we have the approval of bills and we have approval of a cancellation of a conditional use permit for DG Rolling Hills LLC solar. And so, any concerns about the consent agenda, or I would be looking for a motion and a second.
Like that motion.
Thank you.
Second by Krause.
All right, motion by Commissioner Milbrook, second by Commissioner Krause for the consent agenda. Yes.
There was some discussion at the P and Z subcommittee on how many times we extend these solar. This has been extended 4 times and then now they're canceling it. So I don't know if this. It was just likely discussed, do we limit the amount of times of extending this things going forward? Or is there? It's just something to think about. Is it worth saying, you know, you can have 2 extensions, but if it's not on the ground by then, you're gonna have it.
I would think there'd be two things that the P and Z subcommittee would want to think about in that area. One is, what does it take for staff effort to do an extension? And B, what negative or benefit does it have to the property owner to be able to extend that? Because those property owners have a contract, that solar company that continues to pay them a fee to keep that option open. And so
Yeah,
you
if-
folks will need to think about
Right, if
pros
it's
and
not
cons.
staff time. It's not any notifications that we gotta send out, and maybe it's need a plan.
But just thoughts, in any case, any other comments on the consent agenda? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda has been approved. Action items. We will go on to authorize board chair to sign the agreement and mortgage related to the Workforce Development Center EDA grant award number. I'm not reading all those numbers off. It's in the packet.
I'll take that one. Thanks, Madam Chair. I don't often get to tell you this is something you've never seen before, but this is one of those occasions. So congrats. Reviewing something unique. So you are obviously aware of the Workforce Development Center conversation. It's been a multi-year narrative, and we keep getting closer and closer. And this is kind of one of those capstone documents to ultimately pull us over the line. And one of the requirements in this receiving final award, and actually the dollars themselves from the Federal Economic Development Agency, is committing to the project. And they typically look at that in a 20-year block. Essentially, the commitment they look for is similar or akin to a mortgage document that says they have an interest of $2.1 million relative to this property, because the assumption is we will continue to use these dollars to fund the program and service delivery that they were awarded for in the scope of that project. So it's nothing surprising. It's nothing unique to this project. It is something they do with every single award that they do as it pertains to property or construction, is a better way to say that. So you have had a chance to take a look at that agreement. So staff are ultimately looking for a couple of things. One, obviously approval itself, and then nested within that approval of the board chair to execute the agreement on behalf of the county so that we can then remit it to the federal EDA and get this thing finalized. Any questions?
I have one. And this may be just a rabbit hole, but there is a lease of project property, and we do lease space there to Min Prairie, and I just wanted to make sure we didn't run into a technical issue with that.
No, we shouldn't run into a technical issue. When you look at the scope of the project, it does specifically call out the lower level. We
Okay.
removed all lower level implication from the Min Prairie lease.
Yes.
2026, so there shouldn't be any conflict there.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Good question.
Other questions?
To go down the rabbit hole.
But go.
So this is on a 20-year mortgage note per se.
Yes.
Will it be? How far do you want to get into this? Will it be looked at again in 5 years? Is it just going to roll through? What happens after 20 years? I mean, can you explain what's actually happening?
So in theory, between 10 and 20 years, nothing happens. After 20 years, we would request satisfaction of mortgage. That is a fairly simple process in and of itself. We would file a release. So we would record this document against the property itself. After that 20-year window, could you request sooner release? Sure. I'm not sure if there's a precedent to that or not. The advantage, I'll say, from having this recorded on the property is that the federal EDA likes to invest in what the federal EDA has invested in. So it is, in terms of your 5-year example, their commissioner target, it would likely be more so us approaching them in 5 years and saying, remember this investment you made on this project, now we'd like to do this. Now we'd like to convert it into this. Now we'd like to expand it into this. So it's a good paper trail in terms of we're already committed to you in this relationship. You have a piece of collateral, so to speak. The worst case scenario, I can't really envision a worst case scenario, but for lack of a better term, the worst case scenario is $2.1 million. If 5 years from now, the county said, we got to get out of this building for whatever reason, the implication is the $2.1 million that those tax dollars utilized to build out that property. If it is some sort of like act of God provision, it's going to be accounted for within our typical insurance claim anyway. And that release is not going to then endure those 20 years because we will have satisfied it through that claim.
So it's rent.
What's that?
It's rent.
Oh, rent?
It's there. We're going to take care of the bill.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
So they approved the project scope. We told them here's exactly what we're going to do. They've reviewed the bid package. This is what it's going to look like as best we can tell. And ultimately, here's how much it costs. So they awarded 70% of an estimated $3 million project. And this is the final document, essentially, final document, plus whatever time it takes them to submit the actual transfer of funds before that 2.1 million shows up. So we will submit the bid package formally after this is executed. That gives us the green light to, all right, now we can start advertising. We can award, we can build, and then get that reimbursement in 2.1. So in terms of rent, I mean, it's collateral, it's an assurance, it's a mortgage that just says we have an interest as the federal EDA in $2.1 million pertinent to this project, which is why it calls out specifically the lower level. And
Worst case scenario, if something else were to happen, where they were to pull out of there and go to a different building or for whatever reason, what happens if they leave early? Is it still
they being the workforce development center.
correct? Is it still 2.1 million or is it?
If we ran into a capacity issue 5 years from now and said we're too big, it's I guess a good problem, but still unique. We would certainly engage them in that conversation, which is exactly what I was referring to. Maybe we need to construct a 10,000 square foot structure. We're not necessarily removing the use of that space, but we're expanding the project area itself. So we would then go back to them and ask for additional reinvestment in the project itself.
So what about LCFs? What if the facility's not being used? Or they're not getting people here and using it and decide to forget about the program?
If the county truly wanted to go away from all aspects of the program in the future, that's another conversation we would have with them to see what the implication is. It's not terribly difficult to fulfill the requirements of this in terms of offering some sort of program and service delivery out of the space. So it's hard to envision. We're just going to turn all the lights off and nobody's ever coming in here again.
Right, as long as the facility is there and has the ability of being utilized, then you're satisfying this. Whether there's 5 people there or 20 people.
Right, and we gave estimates. and this was a couple of years ago at that point, as far as how many people we hope to be able to train based upon all of our partners. People, in all reality, within a couple of years fall far short of that because it will gain some synergy and interest and other people will get pulled in. And then ideally at that point, we just step back and say, keep going, enjoy the space. And then the county, at that point, we're not going to wait necessarily 5 years, but perhaps 2 or 3 years into the conversation, we'll start to re-engage with the federal EDA and talk about what next steps look like when we outgrow or oututilize this space. There's synergies in terms of childcare. We've had some of those foundational conversations already. Open to those conversations. Well, we have 50 people using this every night. Now we need a place for after-hour childcare next to it. So we're going to build that in this northwest corner of the lot. So those are, there's several other synergistic topics that can tie off of this that we go back and ask for funding for.
Other questions? If not, I would be looking for a motion to authorize this mortgage.
I'll make the motion, Margaret.
Thank you. Motion by Hargit, second by Christopherson. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Resolution of 2025-07, revised employee recognition policy. Thanks, Melissa.
Good evening. So this policy that I bring you today is an existing policy that has been revised to just provide some more structure around our milestone anniversaries. And then also adding some new awards, I guess you could say, for performance or employee performance. And so there are 2 awards that we would be adding to this policy: the Blair J. Nelson Award for Excellence and the Excellence in Leadership Award. Funding for this policy would not be impact levy. It would, we are using dollars that already exist or that just from multiple funding sources. For example, like NCIT or dividends that we receive, we use those. Unless there's any questions, I would look for approval of this policy and the resolution 2026-7.
Thank you. First, I'd look for a motion in a second and then have some discussion.
Approval of resolution 2026-07.
Thank you, Commissioner Christopherson.
Second by Krause.
Second by Commissioner Krause. And any discussion? Questions? I appreciate HR taking a holistic look at this and bringing some uniformity to our desire to thank people who do good work in Waseca County for our residents. Part of what makes us who we are is that we have a lot of people who are doing excellent work. And some of them are shyer about taking credit for that than others, but when we have a policy that lets us do that in a uniform way, and it helps our employees know that we value them and we do. Any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you, Melissa. FPCA grant agreement, reuse facility. Come on up.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, so what you have before you today is a grant agreement for a reuse facility at our solid waste and recycling center. Last legislative session, the legislature appropriated approximately $1 million for fiscal year 2026 Greater Minnesota Recycling and Composting Grant Round. That grant round was solicited in September-ish, I think, of 2025, with the support of our Public Works Committee. on our second attempt at, grant funding for a reuse facility. We did prepare an application for a building, solid waste. And, we're selected for an award, $225,000 of MPCA state dollars, and then 25% local match for a total project cost estimate of $300,000. In your packet is the grant agreement, the PCA's hierarchy for waste management, the actual grant application itself, and then what I forgot to submit was just kind of a schematic of proposed location for the building itself. So we have that. Oops, you don't want that though. So again, what we're doing, or what we received grant dollars for, is to construct a building roughly 32 by 36, to kind of mirror the existing HHW building that's out there. So a Morton style building or pre-engineered metal building, where we could pull items out of our waste stream that have value or life left in them and make them available to the public and store and display them in this proposed building. We'd have to do a little bit of relocation of a few things at the site itself, but this is kind of the area we have at least targeted for a reuse facility. I guess once grant agreement is in place, we'll solicit architectural engineering firms for some design and technical specifications and things like that, so we can go out to bids for the building, and then deliver the construction project. Local match was not in our 2026 budget. You know, we're soliciting or seeking grant funds for this project, and you know, through Public Works Committee and Administrator Johnson, the match would be provided by interest earnings or some other general fund dollars that would be available. With agreement or with approval of the agreement, please also authorize the county board chair and the administrator to execute it. It would be done so electronically through DocuSign. So after this is hopefully approved today, we'll let the PCA know. So, and then they will route it to you folks via email.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to talk about. Yes, questions? Otherwise, I recommend approval.
Go ahead.
32 by what?
36.
The one question that comes to mind is who makes the decision on what items get to be put into the shed?
Our staff would that are out there. And we've already been operating, I guess that's something I should have mentioned, is we, the last winter and a half now, we've been doing kind of a pilot reuse program where we've already been pulling some items from the waste stream and making them available in our HHW building for the public. And if you have some more direct questions, I brought Tammy with for how successful that's been.
Yeah, I guess I would. Sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
That was gonna be one of my questions was, you know, if you have an estimate or an idea, how much is this gonna take more staff time? Or how are you gonna have to staff this building?
One of the reasons why we're doing it the way we are is them pulling the things out of the waste stream, which we've already charged for, and putting in the building. The building will be open for the public to go in there and remove the things for free. So we've already charged for it to be disposed of. So if it doesn't get taken, there's no additional charges incurred on top of that for us to dispose of it the normal way we would at the landfill or whatever. As far as additional time for staff, I don't think it's going to be that much more or to be manned. I don't think it's gonna be an issue there unless we go to the point where we take things in from the public, definitely just for reuse, and then try to sell it. Then I think that would be more personnel time. I'd have to say the last two, or this winter, I don't have a good number yet, but we did between 600 and 900 pounds, so almost a half a ton of stuff just in the little bit of time that we did the reuse center. We were able to divert that much from the landfills. Just in 2 or 3 months that we had it going, because we can't run it during the HHW season because that building is used for that.
So that's a savings
That's a savings of, well, yes, we charge for that 900 pounds of garbage to go to the land, as if it was going to the landfill. But then it was, the public was able to take it for free. So we didn't lose any money doing that or anything like that.
And while it's not about losing money or making money,
Yeah.
you know, this is really to, move us up a level in our environmental and best management practices and try to reduce the amount of material we're sending to landfill in Iowa.
Right. Yeah, we can't be afraid to spend a little bit of money to try to be good stewards.
And really, that's where the match is.
So how much it will be.
Yes, yes, yeah. I don't think, I mean, once it's built and, you know, it, besides heating it in the winter, I don't think that there's gonna be that much of an investment ongoing in order to keep it.
The staff time is already, they're sorting materials before they're being placed into the compactor bin or recycling bins or whatever it is. So to pull a few items that they're already sorting and march them down to the reuse facilities, not gonna be a big deal. And then a little bit of inventory just so we can kind of keep track of what people do find valuable, what is moving, what we should key in on for reuse is, you know, is not gonna be a time demand.
Go ahead.
Was there thoughts about, I would imagine you wondered where to put that building. I was wondering if it shouldn't be closer to where the garbage comes in. And that's where the sorting is happening, is back there to the north.
Correct. But we also wanted to make sure it had kind of that storefront vibe, where people just dropping off recycling perhaps would not be going around to the backside of the building or the tipping floor area. So we kind of wanted it up front, interface, so to speak.
And a traffic issue if you put it in the back there, where you can put it where people aren't flowing in and out to dump them more garbage.
Sure. There again, I was thinking of staff time.
Sure.
Getting it to it, but I can see that. So.
Yes.
And did you guys look into flip flopping the two buildings? For any reason? I mean, the only thing that I was kind of on board with Commissioner Christopherson there, just for staff having to get it around there, but are we gonna create a bottleneck where they're coming back from dumping if there's people parking? I mean, are you know, no one reads signs, are you gonna have to make sure they're not parking at the corner of that building or out when you have that flow of traffic coming back? That's not going, well, they're still going that way on the scale.
Right. There's a fair amount of space there. I mean, I expect to pave some parking stalls in front of the new building too. You know, but it'll be hard surface versus everything else is gravel surface out there.
Well, I'm just wondering if it would, just look at it and see if it would make sense to flip flop those buildings.
I think
You're saying no.
well, just because we have a grant to construct this building for reuse facility, I think.
I got you.
We want to build a
Yeah.
reuse facility.
There you go. All right. Yep.
Go ahead.
One more question is there a reason you wouldn't just extend the building that's there?
I talked, I think that would be a discussion I would have with our A&E firm just to see, how viable that is with overhangs and everything like that. I definitely think we need to keep the wall and separate the HHW from reuse. And what we're heating and what we're not heating. But, that was kind of at least it's in the back of my mind, we just lengthen the existing facility or we build a separate structure. And I think that'll kind of work itself out through design.
Okay. Yeah, because if you can use the wall that's there and not have to make another wall.
Right.
Maybe
just-
you can put a few more feet on the building. For the same.
Yeah, it's just the cost difference of separate independent structures versus, you know, modifying or adding on roof lines, things like that. That I don't know what the cost implications would be and which one is more viable.
My only other concerns for that would be because it is an HHW facility, the different types of things and regulations that need to go into how the outlets are done, how the grounding or anything else of that is done. And then the fact that that is not heated right now and we are only a satellite HHW. right now, because of the fact that we don't have a seasonal structure to be able to handle the chemicals and stuff like that, are we opening up something else there where we would, the regulations and the type of things that need to be put into that building are gonna be more expensive because it is connected to the HHW building? And the safety concerns and the chemicals and things like that, is that going to be an issue if you put those two buildings together?
Just one of the reasons why we have knowledgeable staff helping to drive this process. Other questions or comments?
Thank you.
If not, I don't think I have a motion in a second here.
So moved by Krausy for the MPCA grant.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Krause, second by Commissioner Hargit, for the reuse facility. Any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposing sign. All right. Oh, one more. Here we go.
Question for Jim. We're done with this, correct?
We are done with this.
Can you update us, Jim, on the PLSS?
Sure, the Wilton Township one.
Sure.
All of the section corner certificates have been prepared by Jones Hawkins Smith and submitted to the county. So right now they are at the recorder's office being recorded. And then Micah with Schneider Corp will place them on our Beacon GIS website. And that will essentially complete our requirements under the grant and seek final reimbursement, and Wilton Township will be complete.
Sweet.
Congratulations.
So I got a question, follow up on the PLSS then with this program. Is that, do we know if anybody has taken advantage of that program to this date? And that is a P and Z, right? It's who they would contact for that program.
The brand new policy that we just adopted.
Yeah,
We just adopted. Not yet, but it just went live,
beginning of the year.
correct.
Well, I told a couple of people, so.
Awesome.
They,
Good. And I, besides being on planning and zoning's webpage and public works webpage, I pushed it out to our local land surveyors, that I'm familiar with, and then also, to the Minnesota, Professional Surveyors Association. So at least got bulk emailed out to all Minnesota's land surveyors anyways.
okay.
It's on Jim's fee schedule list, so they're the one they got to talk to.
Yeah.
Your fee schedule.
And the policy speaks specifically to submitting certificates and invoices to my position at least.
Okay.
Other questions for Jim while he's here? Thank you to both of you for coming today and for your work on this. Thanks once again for making good things happen for Waseca County that isn't all coming out of our own pockets.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, final action items. Schedule public hearing to consider ordinance 164 shotgun only zones.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Another exciting one for you today. This has been a long meandering conversation, as you're well aware of, since legislation was changed in May of 2025, eliminating the shotgun only hunting zones for southern Minnesota organically in 2026. So our options today and the request ultimately today is to schedule a public hearing for February 17th, because that is the last official board meeting of February. Why that matters is that the DNR has requested by March 1st to be notified of county-specific rules or ordinances put in place so that their deer hunting manual can be accurately reflected before it is published and printed and sent out en masse in the middle of this year. So that's technically it's 2026, so we are in rifle hunting mode. Just throwing that out there, but since it's not deer hunting season, we're not. So regardless, that March 1st date is not statutory. It is a request and rule in all practicality to ensure that the manual is updated correctly. I just want to clarify, there's nothing from preventing the board from implementing an ordinance after March 1st, and it's still being effective, but there will obviously be a disconnect with what is published versus what is actually by ordinance law in Waseca County. Still very silent in our neighbors, as you have seen and talked to, I'm sure, in other counties. A lot of counties waiting until the last minute to do anything about this. And a lot more counties that likely just won't do anything about it. There are some public hearings being held. Maybe you've heard about some of those. Maybe you've heard some takeaways from some of those. Some more attended than others. And in some counties where there's just been the early stance and conversation from county boards and their staff earlier on that we're just going to let it lapse. There's a lot more discussion recently on it. So if the public hearing is scheduled, that does not necessarily mean you must implement an ordinance. It's just, we know that an ordinance cannot be implemented without a public hearing being conducted. So this is somewhat of a preemptive action to say that allows you to have both options at your disposal on February 17th. We know 2 days from now, there will be public listening session, public input session, 5 o'clock, Thursday afternoon. I expect a decent amount of attendance based upon some of the inquiries. I certainly don't expect a unanimous opinion, but I don't think that's ever happened with anything. So this is the situation we're in. This is what the law says. All 87 counties have a decision to make or not make, which is still making one. So questions, concerns, conversations.
Go ahead.
So we got the 5 o'clock here Thursday, correct, in this building. If we don't do anything, don't do a public hearing, don't do anything, then it's gonna be a rifle. We'd have to have an ordinance. So if we had consensus here today, would we have to have this public hearing? I mean, if we had consensus here today that we're gonna achieve, we wouldn't need to have a public hearing.
Right.
You just want to have if we pass this today and set this, then we have to have public hearing, or we could a week from now say, no, never mind, cancel it.
You would not technically have to hold the public hearing. Public hearing is a requirement to pass the ordinance.
Yeah.
So that is truly the reason for scheduling the public hearing, is because by law, you can't implement an ordinance without a public hearing being held.
But then would you bring an ordinance to that meeting?
I would have a draft ordinance ready to go on the 17th, yes. And that's why it's labeled as 164. That's in actuality what it would be.
And there are plenty of draft ordinances out there that we can copy.
Yeah, and to your point, and that's why I said this law is effective in January. So right now, Waseca County is ripe. The additional action by the board would be required to make it not so. So right now it is. So unless there is an ordinance implemented saying otherwise, it will be ripe.
Here was my thoughts as chair in asking Michael to figure out some logistics for us here. We know that people have opinions, and one of the reasons why I asked for this listening session is I want people to be able to be heard. Because we know how important that is. We also know that this isn't just about people's opinions. There is information by professional organizations, the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association, from information that the DNR has provided or hasn't provided. Months ago, I know Michael shared a study that Pennsylvania did quite in depth on the difference between shotgun and rifle, and that was pretty clear that safety isn't an issue, isn't the main issue here. There's plenty of places you can go to find more information that isn't just about how we feel about this. But we do want people to be able to say how they feel. But I purposely didn't want us to, I wanted us to listen to people, and if we decided to make a decision, do that at a separate time. And I wanted to allow us to have the time to do that if we felt we needed to. So that's part of why we are where we are right now.
Madam Chair, just to clarify in the previous ask, I have attempted to contact the DNR several times now. The most recent email that, and I've kind of stepped up in hierarchy each time. The most recent was just very simply, can you, even responding and saying we don't have an opinion would be helpful at this point, so we can at least state that, hey, we asked and our official opinion is to not have an opinion.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, I would understand that because I'm sure you're getting inundated with requests. But since the deputy commissioner, the last instance, Bob Meyer, had made that statement that it essentially said it's all in or all out. That's as much as we're saying. They haven't said anything else. So I have attempted to request staff to come in, be part of that listening session. When that seemingly obviously wasn't happening, backed up and just say something, and haven't heard anything. So they seem resolute in the stance that we're not managing any hybrid plan. So you either keep it shotgun or you keep it, or you allow it to be rifle, and there is no between solution.
Commissioner Morgan.
I've heard from some individuals that we're waiting to see what the other counties do. And I don't think that's something we should do or need to do either, because I'm not going to say that all of the counties in southern Minnesota are going to be the same. So you're still going to have crossover from one county to the next. So Blue Earth doesn't implement it, and we do, or Freeborn, or just go on from there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Commissioner Christopherson on this. I think we've both been through at least 2 or 3 public meetings,
Yeah.
if you will. They, I don't foresee them going well, usually, because you have the people that are extreme one way or another. You're going to have very much for it or very much against it, and everybody in the middle really doesn't care. I think it should be upon the hunter that has that education to take it upon themselves to know what's behind that projectile.
Mhm.
We can't police all of it. If we do nothing and someone gets hurt with a rifle, it'll be because we didn't vote against it. People are going to get hurt with a shotgun. You can still hunt with shotgun down here if it's going to be right. Hunt with whatever the most bullets you have. I mean, you can do it either way. You know, we're not supposed to drive and be on our cell phone. I see that constantly. It's only suggestions that are being made. They've had some horrendous accidents in Wisconsin with snowmobiles because they have snow there. You can only give guidelines, and people are going to be people. So I just, you know, if we don't do anything, the state already did it for us.
Mhm.
That's kind of where I'm leaning. So, and I'm not saying that everything that comes out of the metro is a good suggestion.
I appreciate that.
It was never, you know, like you stated, it was never about the safety of the people. It was about herd management.
Yes.
And if you think about it, the insurance companies should be 100% behind this. Saying use whatever gun you need, but stop sending in insurance claims for deer hits. It'll still be the same.
Well, and ultimately, I think that's some of the conversation. And, this is where we are. So anyway, sir,
I'd like to, Commissioner Hargan said that it's the responsibility of individuals. It doesn't matter if you're hunting, if you're driving a car, or if you're having adult beverages and getting in a car.
mhm,
It's the responsibility of that individual, knowing what could happen.
absolutely.
One unique county that I see that is staying rifle is Scott County, which is highly dense with people. So that kind of leads me, we think that, this is the route that we can run as well.
And they are gonna go with the state?
They're going with the state.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My only comment is I sit here and think, in a situation where I am, where our farm is right next to the river, we allow people to go out there and hunt. It's probably my biggest concern is you get somebody out there with a rifle shooting across the river and the house and the building sites right on the other side.
Mhm.
It can happen with a shotgun too. I think it can happen more likely with a rifle. But then that can be up to me as an owner, to post it, not allow somebody out there with a rifle if I don't want that. So I've got other means of policing it as a owner, as a property owner. So I think if you're not for it, there are ways of policing it, even if it's allowed.
Okay. Go ahead.
One more thing, and, the big drives that there used to be with, 15, 16 people pushing, that generally doesn't happen any longer. Everybody's sitting, and the population of deer hunters is way down. It's, from the 80s and 90s when I used to deer hunt, there's hardly anybody out driving up and down the roads. You don't see them in the orange shirts driving by your house 20 times thinking, oh, they're out, road hunting.
Yeah.
You don't see that quite as much as what it was back then. So I think the population of deer hunting was down as well. There's more responsible individuals out there.
Well, I think the question for us here, we have committed to taking public input on Thursday evening. Good, bad, or indifferent, which does give us an opportunity to listen and to also do some education with our residents as to what we know and what we're thinking. But that is not a time where we are going to make any decisions about this. If we don't schedule this public hearing, we lose the opportunity to make this decision before DNR. Any decision that we might make to limit it, we leave that off the table, which we can, we don't have to. But it seemed to me that, and this is my thought, that if we're going to take public input and do public education, we should leave some space to make a decision if we have one to make.
Well, I agree. I think we need, if we're gonna have the public input, we need to schedule this. Take the public comment or input, because they want to be heard, whether you're against it or
Mhm.
for it. People want to be heard. So I think that's okay to do that. And I think the road we're going down is fine, because I did have a call yesterday, well, aren't we gonna have any say? And I said, yes, you are.
Yes.
So the public says, and I said, because some people just want to be heard, and that's fine. So they should be. So I guess I go ahead and move this public hearing date on February 17th.
We have a motion by Commissioner Christopher,
Second by Crosby.
second by Commissioner Krause. Any further discussion? I too had a phone call yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, and if nothing else, the announcement of the chance to give public input and this will engage some people and allow them to be heard. And as I said, I have some thoughts about how Thursday is going to go as far as information we provide and we want our constituents to know we're listening. So I appreciate everybody's willingness to. This can be dicey, you know, we can either have a great discussion or it can be hard. And if it's hard, well, we get paid big bucks for that. So, if there's no further comments, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. We got a plan.
If nothing else is scheduled before a couple other meetings with intent, so there's a cap at least.
There you go.
Krause will be here all night, but the rest of you.
Yeah, there's cannabis afterwards.
Yay.
You're all
Meeting.
and I'll stick around for that.
All right, we are done with our action items. We are on to administration update. Michael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few things just to bring to you right now. We've been having daily conversations, getting some meetings set up for a couple of weeks. Maybe about 2 weeks at this point, it's going quickly. We had a visit from Congressman Finstead this last week. Really good conversation. We had an hour worth of his time. Talked on several implications of HR1 and really with the focus of smoothing the transition of HR1 and what the impacts are to the county. We know impacts are coming. So how do we mitigate what's is both from a service delivery standpoint and from a fiscal standpoint. So very receptive to those conversations. Staff took some good notes and we've had some good follow-up conversations since then. Part of the takeaway there was whilst we were in DC to engage with him and a couple of other congresspersons as well, and some Minnesota folks and USDA and some NACO staff to talk about error rates specifically. And error rates are kind of one of those bigger impact or maybe disproportionate impacts to Minnesota, as well as a couple other states, but significantly compounded in Minnesota because of the archaic legacy systems that we use. He was receptive to that conversation and willing to participate in that as kind of a go-between bridge with USDA staff as well. Commissioner.
Okay, are you talking about human services, right? Correct. At the error rate?
Yes.
Because the counties can be very low in error rates, but it goes off of the state, right? Because the state and the federal is where the money exchange is, and so it's no benefit to the counties for doing good at their job, basically.
Well,
Because their error rates can be low, but yet we don't get the reimbursement.
And we all know that the bigger pool you have, any errors, any number of errors, percentage wise is lower if you have a bigger pool doing the job. So a county may have a really great individual error rate, or they could have a really poor error rate. The fact is, the federal government's going to look at the state no matter how counties do it.
Right. So there's no incentive for the county to be very good and have lower error rates if they're still not going to get the reimbursement because the state overall is poor. I mean, you want to be good to try to get the whole state down, but you want credit for your county. So that money can channel to us even if the state is poor.
Yes, and some of the discussion that we had was certainly around the very archaic legacy systems that the state provides the counties to do this work. that, which is a pretty integral connection between the two. And also, if a recipient fails to update their information, which happens, their wage changed or something, and then they get reevaluated and the county worker says, oh, you had a wage change here, either up or down. And if it went up, well, then they got too many benefits. We have systems in place for those benefits to be repaid. Should that count as an error? That's part of the discussion we want to have, is just philosophically, if we've got this checks and balances in place so that people who forget or don't think about it or even maliciously don't report, we've got a system in place to follow up because we do recheck them, but that's still our error. And do we
Being considered an error.
Yeah, and should that count as an error when we have a way to recoup that overpayment, and in fact it does get collected, their wages get garnished. So those are some of the subtleties that we want to have discussion about.
Yeah. So even errors that we catch, we identify, we fix, we correct, it doesn't matter. Even
Considered an error.
Yeah.
So a lot of discussion around HR1 and those implications. And in reality, we're just in kind of this perfect storm in Minnesota. We have HR1, a reduction in revenues inevitably coming. We have our own fiscal cliff from the state side of things that we're looking at, of which human services funding will inevitably be a target because it has to be, the dollars have to come from somewhere. The only alternative is massive cuts in the actual programs, which doesn't seem as likely. And then we have a couple $100 million worth probably of implication of program and system updates that need to happen, systems modernization that needs to happen, that we don't have the funding for yet. We have part of it, we're a little closer, but we're still likely a long ways off. If you recall, even several years ago, it was over $50 million to redo the state driver's license system. It still didn't work. Then we have to do it again. This is more complicated, and that's just one system. We're talking about several systems. So this is not an easy fix or solution, even a short-term fix or solution. We're years away from it. And the reality being that we will have encountered and shouldered the burden of the revenue reduction far before any systems modernization will be programmed and implemented. So that, with the uniqueness of how Minnesota is treated, with what we were just discussing a moment ago, and other ways with how those funding mechanisms work, it's going to be interesting over the next few years. So happy to have some delegates that are willing to engage in that conversation, and we'll continue working towards that. We're able to connect with the Chief Deputy of his staff, John Altendorf, as well, who's now working on connecting USDA to the conversation we're having here. So I'm sure that'll be successful. At the federal level, we have one senator, Tina Smith, who is not seeking re-election. We have another senator, Hope Shar, who is seeking the governor's race. I see turnover on a lot of fronts. So some conversations will behoove us this year as well. We have plans for some congressionally directed spending from both of those camps. A great final hurrah for both of them, I guess. And we planted that seed with Congressman Finstad as well. So we'll already having those conversations and getting the framework of what those requests will be for all three of those delegates at least. And usually that's the first or second week of March when we get notification of those applications being opened, and then we have usually about a week to turn them around and submit them. Putting together frameworks of both our our state and federal information, just packets. You walk in, hey, how you doing? Here's all the stuff we want you to think about and take away from this meeting. If there are other things in particular you want to be on that, again, just let me know. Shortly after NATO, March 4th and 5th, we got the AMC legislative conference as well. And that Wednesday, the 4th, is when the day of the Capitol will be. So again, working to schedule meetings for that. So you at least have 10, 15 minutes, even if that's all it is, with our own reps. Through the initiative local option sales tax, we've been engaging pretty frequently anyway. So that's a benefit, but still, again, want to be pointed and direct and bold in what those additional conversations and or asks will be going forward. So let me know, please, if there are specific things through your conversations, your committees, your consortiums that you hear that you want included in those one-pagers that we'll discuss. Advance notice that I have donuts with Dad with a 3-year-old on that Wednesday morning. So I will likely meet you at the end of that general session to join you at the Capitol before the general session in the morning for a much more important meeting.
Absolutely.
That I have. This is what draft of a bill, your bill looks like in terms of local option sales tax is being pursued. So this comes specifically from Representative Sexton's staff. So putting together the framework to jacket this bill. So it captures everything that was within the resolution and some of the research that was sent. I won't take time to go through it line by line right now, as it's still a draft. But just quick touch points so you can see that we're moving forward. Was able to connect with Senator Rest and Senator Weber last week, the chair and ranking minority member, respectively, of the Taxes Committee on the Senate side of things, to confirm they received all our information and packets. So I'll get that response back. So all of our boxes are checked as far as step 1 in the process. And now we continue to chat and advocate and hope for a positive outcome on the bill itself for the next couple of months. And then we do some more work from a community standpoint. At a interview with the newspaper. This is just Tuesday, right? Yeah, yesterday morning. And just kind of talk through what that process would be and ensuring that there'd be plenty of opportunity and a need for community engagement after this legislation was passed into law. So we're early in the process, but meeting all the necessary steps along the way, of course. Copied a couple of you on some communication to the food shelf. Just wanted them to be aware of some funding that showed up as of yesterday. I think they'll spawn some good conversations from their end, but feel free to pull me back in if you hear something important to do on that. Had a good library meeting with Joe Martin and Stacy Lineman and Afton.
Finley.
Thank you. Afton Finley, who is the branch librarian in Waseca. I did share this with you. It's in your inbox, but this is just the slide deck that Stacy prepared for us that answered all of those questions on the previous document that you've seen and then some. So lots of great information. It was a good couple hours of understanding and drilling down and getting a good grasp of where do we need to go next. And then we took some time I had never walked through that library building. So got the full tour of everything that happens there as both kind of the regional hub for the system, but then just the direct services and things that happen there. Next step, and Stacy connected us then with another Stacy L from TDS. So we are scheduling that meeting presently to get some more understanding of the TDS relationship, where the layers are and maybe aren't. And then afterwards, we will engage with the likely smaller subset of commissioners, just in terms of bringing what a recommendation could look like going past 2026. We talked a lot even about specific sites. Do we have the right number of branches? Do we not have the right number of branches? Advantages, disadvantages, all of those things. So it was really helpful for me from an educational standpoint. I'm sure that a slide deck will be helpful for you as well too, as we go forward. Lot of succession planning conversations. Keep the personnel committee pretty busy over the next few months. Sorry about that. But necessary and good conversations that'll build out the framework of where we go in anticipation of some very key staff leaving us over the next couple of years. But good conversations, opportunities for just additional education and just reviewing, are we doing this the way we want to do this for the next 10 to 15 years? Lastly, before turn it over to Brian for some additional parks conversation, it'll be necessary for us to set up a workforce development center advisory committee. When we pursue some additional funding for programming USDA, that will be part of will be a requirement for us. I think it's also a practical requirement for us to be able to step away in the future, but still have a county presence and voice into the happenings. So I intended to bring you some language and a resolution on the 17th to that end that will likely look at more than 15 people in total, community, higher ed, industry, etc. And then a part of that 15 to commissioners participating in that. It won't be a huge lift at the onset, but it's something we want to start and get moving and use as the sounding board and driving force of those next conversations as we start the book programming, hopefully by end of this year. So think about that if you could. I'll chat with the chair some more as far as who those names could be, should be. So there's some synergy with stuff all of you do. So I'll leave it to you to figure out who makes the most sense there. And lastly, as I just mentioned, Brian Tomford gave me a packet of information. He'll jump up at the podium about some possible developments at Courthouse Park. Not a new conversation. We put a pin in some of the redevelopment efforts last year. And this is just in consideration of some more grant opportunities that are available. So Brian, why don't you step through what you got here?
All right, morning. Well, basically, we had chatted about this in 2025, and it was recommended to bring back in 2026 to relook at. So a grant opportunity came up this year, or last year. We were not talking about the grant, we were talking about full cost. So I started pursuing the grant, and I wanted to give you some information. So in front of you, I handed out an informational package that I plan on bringing to the board on the 17th for ask of approval of a 50-50 grant, cost split for a DNR recreational grant for the new playground at Courthouse Park that would be purchased and installed by Minnesota Wisconsin Playground. This is the identical system that was in discussion last year. And what will come along with this grant would be a resolution, of course, for the county to commit to a 50-50 split in the grant. On the first page of the handout is the financial information for the grant application, which has your total cost and the 50-50 split. On the second page of the handout is a cost estimate for the installation of the equipment. On the third page is cost estimate for the equipment purchased. And on the fourth page I just threw in the drawing of the equipment layout according to the size and area, which you had seen before, but I thought I'd send it back out. So that you could be able to see it again. And on the 5th page, I shared the 3D visual of the approximate location at Courthouse Park, according to the structures that are currently in place. Does it need to go there? Not necessarily. We can move it a little bit according to the grant. Anyway, I just wanted to bring this back to your attention and give you a little more information on the grant process, which wasn't involved last year, but is this year. I can say the cost of it has gone down roughly around $40,000 since last year. I think that's about all I have for information. So I come back on the 17th. So just a packet for you guys to view and get reacclimated with what was discussed last year. And of course, this is the overall 5-year, 10-year, progress in our parks. Basically just concentrating on Courthouse Park right now. Of course, if this goes into effect, some items will transition into Flowers Park as well in the future. Leave it at that.
Anybody got questions for Brian?
So this has nothing to do with the band shed.
No,
That's a topic for a later date.
correct.
Yeah, we're kind of considering the ban shell dead in the water at this point. I don't anticipate bringing an ask to you, just to be transparent. Unless we hear differently from you folks in the future. But the thing to remember with this is we anticipated and even budgeted for initially last year to redo the surface of the existing playground to be an ADA accessible inclusive play area. So rather than do that with the existing infrastructure, we expanded the conversation of, is this the infrastructure that we really want or need? We can add an ADA accessible surface, but that doesn't make the equipment itself ADA accessible. So this was revisiting both, looking, like Brian just correctly said, what's our 10 to 15-year CIP or vision plan for Courthouse Park? We know that includes more inclusivity in spaces, ADA accessible spaces, and then rekindling just, well, what if we just put this all on the same side? So all of the stuff, the activities is all generally accessible on the same side. So if I'm in the pavilion, I can find a site, see my child out the pavilion door on the same side of the area is. So it's kind of an amalgamation of several ideas and thoughts that have spanned the last couple of years. The uniqueness here is the grant is due at the end of the month. So that's the timing we're talking about. So we didn't want to just throw it in front of you and say, here it is, make a decision, please. Wanted a couple of weeks to digest and think through. And if there's great aversion, I mean, it's still a good chunk of change, right? So if there's aversion to that, that's fine. But we're working within the time constraints of the grant, which is just telling you where we're at in terms of the timing and why the ask right now.
So basically, this grant funding just came out less than a month ago. So as Michael stated, yes, to get feedback on this grant, we have a date of February 27th. If we do not want feedback on it and help with it, the total grant is due the end of March. So.
Yeah, so when we hit pause last year, what we stated to you is we'll continue to explore the grant opportunities as they come up. So that's just a follow up to the conversation we had a few months ago.
So this 154,000 is in 26 budget?
No, this would be interest dollars and ultimately would be recommended to be realized.
One last question.
Okay.
You talk about, we're focusing on Courthouse Park right now. Do you have a 5-year parks plan? And what would be the first thing that you would do down at Eustis Park if, what's the first thing on the docket for that park?
I'm actually working on that, 10-15 year plan now. The part that I have at Eustis Park is there is no ADA accessible to there right now, to the actual playground itself. And there is no, not this type of safety material that's underneath that existing playground.
Right.
The use that the park gets now for playground use off of my visual and camera and stuff. I believe the playground equipment that's there is sufficient for now compared to the public that goes to Courthouse Park per se, at the balance. Not saying that Eustis is less,
Right, less important. I understand where you're going with that, but also, you could argue that we have to make that Eustis Park look pretty nice to get the people there, or get the people to use it.
Right.
I think that's something we gotta keep thinking about, is we gotta keep updating there too, to get more attraction. People feel like it's not being neglected.
so far, like I say, we initially put out a new play system out there, just like we have at Courthouse Park. We did not utilize the safety material that, it's safety material, but it's not this safety material. Addition to that is an ADA pathway that's going to it. We have improved the outdoor facilities, bathrooms, already. On this parks program is also a blacktop for going up and around in a circle. And so far, I don't see anything with the pavilion because it's still good, but 15 years down the road, maybe. So there's some things that, and the trail out there. There is a trail that goes through that park, basically a walking trail, but there's stuff, yes, in this program that I'm working on that does have stuff in use, this along with Lowers Park, which are our 3 main parks, for 15-year program, 10-15 years.
And I don't want to sound critical, but I don't know whose responsibility is, but I would like to make sure, whether it's Public Works or grounds, that road going up to Eustis Park gets some attention. And we don't end up with giant ragweed. I know it gets real close to crop there. But I have heard, that sometimes it gets not looked at. And whether that is something that has outlet guys have to just once in a while go up there and look at. So we gotta keep that looking decent going out there.
So when you're talking Eustis Road and comments on it, are you talking the road that goes into the park, or the road that goes to the house and then our actual?
I would imagine it's the entire thing. It's from the top, is that a township road?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. From that to the park, I'm sure that's where the comments are coming.
Okay.
So, yeah, it could be that stretch before the house that's the issue. Because I know there's some low ground in there also, that if the river comes up, it goes over the road ahead of Sickles there. But that still should be somewhat looked at, or because that is part of the way out to that part.
So part of the challenge for staff, and I appreciate that conversation as context, is trying to find a balance between, I should say, trying to find a district balance from a cost benefit standpoint versus a utilization reality. So that's, we don't want to constantly aggrandize Courthouse Park as though it's the only one we care about, but also need some guardrails at times from the commissioners from, we have thousands of people that go through Courthouse Park every year. We might have hundreds of people that go through Blowers or Eustis every year. So what should the list look like essentially? Is it update, improve quality of life things versus major infrastructure development things? And there may be some people that said, I'm not going to Courthouse Park. There's too many people. I'm going to go to this park or this park. I'm sure there are, certainly. So a challenge versus just, we have a limitation on the resources we have as a whole. And I don't think we want to add much more to the budget or from an FTE standpoint for additional park people. So just some understanding and insight from folks there is helpful as far as the blind spots we may have.
Yeah, and I get that it's challenging because we got a lot more population up here, a lot more usage, but there's also less to do down in that area.
Good point.
A lot less people, but there's less to do. So I still want to make it an attraction is what we're at.
I do have it in the program. And like I say, we're also working on the trails, program as well. Eventually, from Elberly to Waseca to Waterville. And what I'm looking at is the trail, which has always been discussed, is actually branching off of that to Courthouse Park. So there's a pathway to get to that one as well. So yeah, there's that. I might have a little more in Courthouse Park, but I'm not forgetting about the other parks. So,
It's a well,
Go ahead, Commissioner Crossen.
Brian, has there been any more talk about putting another building up where the house was? Yes.
Lots of wishes. Right. That list is pretty long.
Okay.
Yes, there's been talk, there's been kind of preliminary schematic designs, if you will, conceptual designs, even if it's just here's the, like, whatever you call it, the Lowe's version, if you will, of here's a prefabbed building and what it would look like in that space and customization of any of the other finishings, etc. There hasn't been a whole lot of effort to say, here's the final pitch and we're going to bring it to the commissioners for approval because it just hasn't been the best timing for that or something.
I just didn't know where that was on the list of
it's still being looked at.
to-do list.
Yeah, it ties exactly into what I just stated a few minutes ago and ties in exactly to the more 10 to 15 year plan Brian is solidifying. So in theory, we could bring you a recommendation 2 weeks from now, but that isn't necessarily helpful in the greater scheme of the conversation we're having, resource management and diversification of those resources across our parks.
Just an update. I don't know if you heard or not, but the Monarch Sanctuary was put in
On the south end.
on the south side. So we were able to get that planted, worked up and planted right at the first frost that was recommended. So we'll have to see what comes up, what doesn't come up. We did have areas for walking through that. I'm not sure exactly what I want for foundation for pathway yet. But we'll have a temporary one for now. I can text the guards to have a bench put out there for people to sit. I already have a bench, just don't know where to put that. So that has been established. You just have to see what comes with it.
We also have that Oak Savannah project that's gonna be in the not too distant future that will, in terms of resource management, have to think of expanding to Goose Lake and what that means.
Goose Lake Park is moving along very well right now. The buckthorn was being removed 2 days ago. Some of the trees have been removed. The company that was doing the chipping to get rid of the brush, I asked them to deliver out Courthouse Park for the forester. They were gonna haul it away and get rid of it. As bring it out to the park, we'll use it on our trails. That was delivered yesterday. So that project, which is like a 5-year project, is moving along real well.
Has there been any more thoughts on widening the road going into Courthouse Park?
Again, one of those wish list items.
I just didn't wanna.
We haven't done the document research to say if we can even do that,
Right.
because it
is
Beacon isn't perfect, obviously, but seemingly it would have to go to the east if it was gonna get wider, because the line is like right on the west edge of that road, I think. But even 3 feet would make a significant difference
It would.
to
It would.
the quality of life piece of that.
All right.
I got, talked to a couple constituents, they're very happy and pleased with the ski trails on the course. Utilizing them in their good condition.
Thank you. The public comment, I have sent that out already for this park thing, because I need that feedback for the grant.
Sure.
I've only put it out there yesterday, and so far it's been that. So I was going to do some information on the 17th. But any more comment?
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks for continuing to work to improve our parks.
Thanks.
Anything else for me, Madam Chair?
Not if the board doesn't have any questions for you at this point. Then we're gonna go on to human resources announcements, and we all got turnover report, including current activities, and there are some staff anniversaries that are listed at the bottom, including Commissioner Milbrath here on the board for 2 years. But there's some significant anniversaries that end in 0s and 5s. And if I could ask Melissa to share those publicly, that would be awesome. We've got some people doing good work for a length of time here. We appreciate it.
We do. So we do have some milestone anniversaries. We have Rachel Cornelius, County Attorney, 20 years of service. Samantha, I'm gonna chop this out. Holisky, James, Public Health Supervisor, 10 years. Jill Rates, Solid Waste and Recycling Specialist, 5 years. Myself, I've been here 10 years. Yay. Josh Smith, shop foreperson, 5 years, and Samantha Strand, HR Generalist, 5 years.
Thank you for your work in making sure we keep track of everybody and that we make sure we recognize good work. Any questions for Melissa about your HR report? Thanks too for the stats. That helps us get a picture of how it goes. All right, then community development update.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I did email that out to you yesterday. And I would let you know that I have, you should have received yesterday a copy of the staff report for the cannabis conditional use permit. And then this morning I sent also to you a draft copy of the revisions for the shoreland overlay. Please feel free to share those, the shoreland stuff with your townships and any lake associations that you might be associated with. And happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got anything for Tina? I did appreciate getting your report and having a chance to look it over. Thanks for the good work. Anything? We don't have to have comments, but go ahead.
The February 10th, educational session at 3:30, that was put together mainly to bring the Freeborn County up to speed with what's happening there because of this EDA. I don't know. I don't want to say don't come to it, but I don't know if it is quite as critical for.
If I could interject, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Please attend. It's twofold. It is to bring Freeborn County in to learn about the grant application that we would like to pick, that we'd like to apply for. What Chris Howard and I have discovered, especially in conversations with Kale, the attorney for the drainage district, there are two options to move forward in this process. So no decisions will be made, but it's an educational system because they are distinctly different. But we can only choose one if we're going for one of the two to put the grant application in. And it makes a difference. And so it takes that educational session will be for the attorney to tell you, here's option A, here's option B, here's the statutory requirements. And then we will have to schedule a public hearing and a formal meeting for decisions before I could write the grant application. So I feel like it would be important for all of you to be there. And I know it brings you back in because you have some drainage ditch meetings in the morning, but we're meeting the schedule of the attorney. And we just feel like it's important that you have all the information that you can before you have to make a decision.
Thank you, Tina.
Yes, it is here on the 10th at 3:00.
3:00 or 3:30?
3:00.
Okay. I don't know. It could be 3. I think it might be 3:00.
I was emailed 3.
Okay,
I believe that you should have already received a notice. Believe Chris on the time.
Yeah, it's 3 on the calendar.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Chip. Go ahead.
Do you have a date for the farm, what at Farm America?
The farm to city luncheon.
March 19th.
I was gonna say, I knew it was in March, but then I didn't have the date. And you will be able to register individually. But we are sponsoring again this year. And we're going to kind of be alternating locations. So in town, out of town, in town, out of town.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks.
Anything else for Tina? If not, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to commissioner reports. We met last on 2nd. No, today's 3rd. We met last on
20.
on the 20th. So, Commissioner Mulder, would you want to get started?
We started off on Tuesday, the 20th. We met with the sheriff in the morning. We had our board meeting. On the 21st, we had EDA. I had EDA meeting. On the 22nd, I had regional radio board meeting in Mankato. The 24th, I had coffee with the commissioner. The 26th, we attended a great community awards banquet where our county administrator was given Boss of the Year award. On the 28th, we had a meeting, I had a meeting with Instead. On Friday, the 30th, I had the Regional 9 on the SSA meeting. 31st, I had coffee with the commissioner. In February, we had Rob hearings yesterday, and brings us to today's board meeting we had CHB this afternoon in Woodville Township.
Thank you, Commissioner Milburn. Commissioner Krause?
The 21st was the EDA in the morning. And the annual township meeting at 7 p.m. that night. The 26th was a busy day with P&Z in the morning. HRC the afternoon, then chamber event in the evening. Then on the 30th, Region 9 legislative Zoom. That's the date. Asking the details on that. One watershed, one plan. And then yesterday was the ditch meetings. And then today was, of course, we got the meeting this afternoon. And Doug and I have JD 83 over in Mankato at 3:30.
You and Doug or me and Doug?
I thought it was just Doug and I. That make a difference.
It will, because one of us
Yeah.
is named on there and one of us isn't. And
I was thinking it was Doug and I.
I've got an invitation from Stephanie Janicki.
Committee, yeah, what the committee is saying.
I've got that right here.
No, not.
So it's you and Doug.
Well, that's what my understanding was. Let's see.
Here, then she had, she
83. Well, it says Krause and Christopherson, but I got invited. We need to do some crosswalk. We need to do some follow-up, because we need the person whose name is on these documents to show up. We saw that yesterday, that Commissioner Abbey, even though he came for Brady, couldn't be involved, so we'll get it figured out. All right. All right. Anything else?
Yeah.
That's enough. Thanks for throwing a wrench in the works there, bud. Or not. We'll get it figured out. Commissioner Christopherson?
Okay. 20th, yeah, we had personnel, well, we first had the sheriff, met with the sheriff that morning, and then we had personnel committee also ahead of our board meeting. And then on the 21st, at HRA, I attended via Zoom. And then the township annual meeting that night. And then on the 26th of January, I filled in the P&Z committee. And then I had South Country Health Alliance Executive Committee virtual. Then we had our special board meeting. And then we had, I had NACO, Ag and Rural Affairs. I signed on to that. Since I was going out to DC, I got put on there, or I volunteered. With one spot left, so. And then at 3 o'clock, we had Sparrow over in Owatonna. And then I came back here for that Boss of the Year ceremony, which was really nice. And then, yesterday we had all those ditch final hearing for redetermination of benefits on 6 ditches. So I was there, we were here most of the morning. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Hargan.
Alrighty. 20th was the 9:30 board. 21st was 7 PM, the all township meeting at Woodville. The 22nd was our bi-weekly client meeting for the Justice Center at 10 AM. On the 26th, we had an 11:30 special board meeting, 5 PM. We hired some people down at the Dark-Fire Event Center. On the 27th, I met with the director of the Waseca County Historical Society. We're working through some issues there. 29th, 10 AM, I met Commissioner Walter out at S-Rock for the moving forward. That was their last meeting before June. And we have an update on that. On Friday, the 30th at 7:30 AM, I logged on to the MSSA Region 9 Legislative Listening Session, which was uplifting for Friday.
Especially early in the morning.
On February 2nd, hold on, I have to go over here, make sure this is all right. We had the redetermination of benefits on all of those ditches that we heard. This morning we have board, sewer will be a community health board, and then they moved our Woodville Town Hall meeting up because of the caucuses tonight. And I see the city council actually canceled their city council meeting tonight. They can't have during caucus.
Okay.
That's what I have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Hargan. On the 20th, first personnel committee, and then we had our regular scheduled board meeting, Minnesota Prairie Finance Committee meeting, and Min Prairie Joint Powers Board meeting. On the 21st, an HRA board meeting in person. I was there in person in Mankato. And then that evening, the Township County Annual Meeting at Woodville Township Hall. On the 22nd, we had some follow-up on the local option sales tax issue, and then online meeting, the regular bi-weekly client meeting for moving the Justice Center construction possibilities ahead. That evening, I met with some elected women over in Mankato. On the 23rd, I was in the Twin Cities for an AMC Board of Directors meeting, which was well attended and gearing up obviously toward the legislative session and getting ready. Let's see. On the 26th, we had our special board meeting in the morning to do our necessary business on the possibility of local option sales tax referendum. And then that evening, we were at the Chamber Community Awards Banquet, and one of the honorees was our administrator, Michael Johnson, and we're glad that so many of the folks that work for the county appreciate your leadership and wanted to recognize it. That looks good on your job review.
Indeed.
Oh,
Say resume.
oh no. No, we're start of any resumes, we're just burning those. Those are not even allowed.
It's officially my 6th anniversary today.
It is.
Congratulations. Made it over the hump.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. On the 28th, we met here with Congressman Finstead and had a full hour of, I think, beneficial conversation and made some plans to talk to him again when we were out in DC, those of us that can be there. On the 29th, I was part of coffee conversation and consideration for SHAC. They did a session on vaping prevention in youth. Really interesting conversation. We had some good overall information and then some small group conversation from folks who work in public health. Joined Commissioner Hargeth out at SROC for the Moving Waseca Forward Task Force presentations. And yeah. Then on the 30th, One Watershed, One Plan here in the East Annex, our regular quarterly policy committee meeting. Glad to be down to quarterly meetings for that one. And at 2 p.m., virtual meeting, SHAC leadership and MDH staff planning meeting for our next year. And SHAC staff from MDH is awesome. They really help us move a lot of things forward there. Yesterday morning, I talked to Commissioner Chrysler from LeSueur County, a little bit about CHB business that we're going to talk about this afternoon. Then we had redetermination of benefits meetings for JD 5 and 10 and for CDs 18, 33, 40, and 42. As soon as that was over, I got in my car and drove up to the Twin Cities, up to the Freeman building, and was part of the LPHA data modernization task force that I am also so blessed to sit on. There was a lot of technical people there that I don't get the technical part, but they appreciate that I can give them some perspective from the county end. So happy to show up in those spaces. Today, we've got this meeting. We've got our CHB meeting over in Waterville, and then there is a joint drainage meeting for JD 83. And then it'll put us. Where did I just put? Oh, I got it in my hand. What am I thinking? Here we go. This is what happens. You gotta see my desk at home. Let's see. Yes, Christofferson and Krause. You guys need to show up. I do not. Yay. Yay. So we've got that figured out. All right, and you got the board packets. So that's the end of my report. Sir.
I should add one more thing. It's probably you know already, but I've been accepted onto the Board of Governors for greasing.
Yay! Yeah.
So,
Way to go.
both Commissioner Bilbreth and I both applied for it, but
Thank you both for being willing to serve.
yeah.
And
So I
congratulations.
was hoping both of us would get on there, but
See the county power brokers, you know. Well, yay. That's awesome.
mention that.
Excellent.
I don't know, there's a lot of big names on that board. It's like,
Yeah, Brad Krause's one of them.
Political politics. Everybody.
hopefully there's a little bit of.
Thanks, Sheriff.
On a good day. You too.
You know, and great commissioner from our perspective. That board. Thank you.
I think
For being
that's,
willing to serve.
I think that's what they were looking for. From what I had heard.
Excellent. Anything else that needs to come before our board?
I make the motion.
All right.
So,
Motion to adjourn, second, Milbrook and Christopherson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you all for your willingness to. Well, yeah, it's too.
that's